Thanks everybody for joining this morning. I appreciate your patience with us. We haven't had these in a couple of months. Is that right, Les?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. It's been a few.
Been a few months. So we're excited to kick these back off. We certainly want to be here to support you. So as we go throughout these slides today, and as Les and I kind of walk you through some of the just basic fundamentals as you are using HeadLight, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. Myself and Les will do our best to also take a look at the chat. So if you have any questions that you don't feel comfortable unmuting, certainly use the chat, and we're always available by email. That being said, as we kick off today, I certainly want to start our call with our mission statement. So at HeadLight, our mission is to modernize the workflows of critical operations with trusted data. So we want to make sure we're bringing together all the data that you guys are seeing and feeling and touching every day. And we want to utilize that data to make smarter decisions. That is the purpose of the partnership between LADOTD and HeadLight, so that we can make better educated decisions by utilizing the software. All right. So a little bit of our agenda today. As we get started, I am recording the call, so I will certainly email out all of this information that we share with you today. Any updates or recaps that we have, any feedback that we get, I'll make sure to include that in the email send out as well. And as we also get started in this, feel free to invite others. So if there are other field users, other office users that you feel as though would benefit from this type of conversation, please feel free to invite them forward on the invitation. We are happy to discuss your everyday activities and what challenges you have, so that we can do our best to mitigate those. So a little bit of our agenda today, we're going to just meet the team. Certainly, we're going to share some opportunities for you to discuss what you currently have and how you use the system. We're going to tell you about some resources that you have access to. We want to make sure that we are supporting you in your daily operations as you begin to utilize, or as you continue to utilize, the HeadLight suite of applications. We also want to make sure that you fully understand the different methods by which you can access the HeadLight system. So in regards to, via your phone, your tablet, your web version, we want to make sure that you understand the different tools and resources that you have available there. Of course, question and answers, and then we'll share a little bit about what we have planned for July. So that being said, I did add a slide in here about meeting the team. Now, I do know that we have 61 folks that have joined this call. So I will certainly tell you a little bit about myself and what I foresee as we begin to re-implement these monthly virtual training sessions, what I foresee getting out of the system, and then I'll let Les go. And then if there's anyone else that has anything specific that they would like to see covered during one of our sessions, please certainly feel free to put that in the chat. And we're happy to read that aloud so that we're all on the same page. We definitely want to make this valuable for you. I don't just want to waste an hour of your time telling you things that you already know. We want to make sure that not only for new beginners into the system, that you're getting a foundation of what HeadLight is, what the relationship is between LADOTD and HeadLight, and then how to successfully use the tool. So as we proceed in that, certainly, just let us know what your needs are, and we're happy to adjust. So a little bit about me. I am Lauren Lindley. I am a senior customer success manager at HeadLight. I've been here for a hot minute, all of about 4 months. So I've had the crash course, but I'm learning every day. So I certainly appreciate all of you and your patience as I begin to learn not only the system, but how you utilize the system. I want to make sure I'm supporting both our internal expectations as well as yours. So, and then what I would like to see most out of using the HeadLight system and out of us conducting these monthly virtual sessions is just that you are able to, just as I stated, successfully use the platform in order to meet the requirements or the mandate that LADOTD has put forth. So that being said, Les, can you go ahead and introduce yourself to those folks that may or may not know you?
My name is Les Fletcher, obviously, and I work at e-construction team. I've been here for 6 years now, I believe, and prior to that, for about 9 years, I was an inspector at LADOTD. Just this month, I make my 15th year at LADOTD, so just the rest of my life left to go. And so, um, so see the most out of using HeadLight. For me, it is for you guys to be able to easily and effectively document the projects well, and get enough information in the system so that decisions that are made at our level here at headquarters are better decisions. Like I know how that works in the field. Sometimes when I was an inspector, I did not agree with those decisions that were being made at headquarters. And, a lot of that probably, especially back then when I was doing it, was the information that they had to go off of. And so that's one of the things I like about HeadLight. It puts it all on the table if you utilize it correctly, and it gives you an opportunity to fully document a project. I do want to mention, I see a lot of folks on here that are regulars. This is kind of a restart to our training. And so this is very basic. In fact, we're not really even starting with software today. We're starting with what happens before the software, like how do you get to it and that kind of thing. So this is redundant for a lot of you, but we have to make sure that we are covering our newer users well and getting recordings of that so that they can refer back to that. So just bear with us. And again, this is a good time at the end where we have question and answers so that those of you who are more experienced with the software, if you have something that's come up recently, you'll be able to voice that there. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it back to Lauren and go from there. Thanks, Lauren.
Yes. Thanks. You're welcome. You're welcome. And so as we look to engage with you, certainly Les and I do not want this to be an occasion wherein we're just talking. We want this to be interactive. So if any of you have what you would like to get most out of these monthly virtual training sessions, certainly feel free to email us. But for today, if you have that top of mind, please feel free to drop that in the chat. Like Les said, this is really foundational for our newer users, but for those more seasoned users, feel free to put anything in the chat that you would like more information on or that you would like us to cover, and we'll make sure to incorporate that in our future sessions. All right, so as we begin, Les, you want to kind of cover some of the resources that folks have available to them, and I'll stop sharing, Les, and I'll let you share if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, I can do that. So let me find my page here and share. So we talk about this pretty often, but especially for newer users, this is always something that I kind of wish that I would have had when I was working in the field. And so we want to make sure that you guys know that it is there. And that is our YouTube page. Now, this is something that we've kind of been putting together over the past couple of years, recording all of our calls, recording the webinars, the one-off trainings that we've done for each of the systems we use. And this is not just HeadLight. So, you can even see right there, we have Hall Hub trainings that have been added as well. And so this is it should be like your first stop, in my opinion. And so going in there to find the information. Now, some of the things like that we're going to be covering in this, let me just scroll down here. Like, a year ago, we uploaded a Fieldbook 101 training. This is very basic training that you could go to as a one-stop shop. And then obviously we'll be adding these to this as well, which are more of a step-by-step, right? So, you'll get, instead of one long video, you'll get probably over the next year, you'll get 12 videos of more in-depth training for each section in here. And so just to give you guys, obviously the link is here. We have that shared out in everything. So newsletter, if you have an email from me, it's on my signature. We try to make that available as much as possible. And even like looking ahead, give you some more information there. HeadLight is implementing a new software, like a customer management software, where you really probably will stop coming to the YouTube page specifically and be able to go to their one-stop shop to find the same videos here. Like it'll be in both places. And so we're trying to give you a little bit, or they are trying to give you a little better experience on, not having to go to 10 different places to find what you need, but actually just being able to go to one place to get training or help with whatever. And so, but just a little tour around here. When you go back to this, we have some videos way back at the beginning that are specific forms. And this was a couple years ago. So if you guys are watching any of this and you say, hey, this is not the same anymore because software changes and we need to go update that, please let me know if you find something in there. But some of it even here is our soil moisture density form. The headlight materials training, headlight sample plan training, and field book training all have, their own video here, and even including our basic training for haul hub, since we're starting to roll that stuff out as well. The webinars are all recorded and put on here, and I will say this is probably one of the most difficult things to find the information you're looking for. There is so much information in there, but you don't know until you like click on it. And here, hopefully I can get the volume down here because we don't want to listen to this, but I do chapter these out so that, and kind of give you a heading here so that you know what's in this video, but you would basically have to click on each one of those. And I've not found a good way to give you a guide of what's in all of them, like a table of contents. Actually, I found a good way using AI tools, but not really sharing that out with you. So maybe if you guys want to contact me offline, we could talk about that some. But anyway, there are just tons, hours and hours of video here on how the software works. And so for those of you who like to go seeking and just figure stuff out yourself, this is a good idea. But I do also know in that same vein, there are some of you who don't like that. That's the way I learn, but not everybody learns that way. And so we want to have these sessions that you can attend. And even, in the future, if your whole unit needs training, like we're happy to come out and do a training there. So you can even look for that in the future. So we just want to make sure that these are, you kind of know where this is and that this is a valuable resource to you. And I know some places in the field, it's kind of hard to get to a YouTube video with service. So my thoughts on that are, do as much prep work as you can. I know how it is as a construction inspector when you get a rain day, you have 1,000 things to catch up on the project. Get that. When you get caught up with those, if especially all the rain we've been having lately, that's a good time to go dive into this and see if you can learn stuff before you head back out into the field. And that's really kind of the way we want this to be utilized. And so anyway, just want to make sure you know that that is there and available. Lauren, did I miss anything? Anything else I need to cover on this?
Not in regards to the YouTube page. Some of the other resources that you and I had talked about was possibly bringing up HeadLight Academy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's a good idea. Let me go there. There's a couple ways that you can, thanks for reminding me about that. There's a couple ways you can access this. Probably the easiest way is even on the iPad or the web version. This is obviously the web. There's a tab for the HeadLight Academy. If you have not ventured into this, I'll give you some tips on how to use it. HeadLight Academy does have like more of a micro tutorial flow than watching a whole YouTube video or even part of a YouTube video. Some of this does include video clips, but not a video like YouTube has. And so sometimes this is good to find fast information as well on how to use the software. But I just want to caution you, HeadLight Academy is a more generic for all headlight customers. So it's not going to have LADOTD specific things in it. But if you want to know how to push a button on the software, where that button's at, this is a good place to go. Excuse me. And so even stuff like navigating the iPad and how to use the iPad, there are some really good courses in here. It's actually just one course. I'm going to click on it so you can see, and it breaks down some of the things. I found this particularly helpful way back in 2017 when we started the pilot project. I went through this first before I even started making observations out on the job and just learning some of the things about how to use the iPad. And it really helped me just know how to use that tool better, and it helped my workflow. And so even some of this like iPad keyboarding here, which probably gives you some really cool little tips on how to navigate that, and some little shortcuts on how to do things. So these are good. I want to say that, I do like how it's broken down here. So if you just need some help with journal observations, you can go right to images or weather or to know how to do that. That's why these micro tutorials are really good. Just keep in mind on stuff like, especially like the spreadsheet observations, that those are not DOTD specific. So we have to, because we are transitioning away from Site Manager using HeadLight, and we have a very complicated integration built so that the stuff we put in HeadLight goes over to Site Manager. There are certain ways that things have to be entered so that Site Manager will accept them. And so these tutorials are not going to include those very specific rules, just the generic rules on how to press the buttons in HeadLight. So wanted to make sure that you knew that that was available to you as well. And then, just as, a human resource, I guess that's me and Lauren, or just anybody from our e-construction team. We have been using the software for a long time. We usually get the updates before anybody else and know when something changes. And you guys utilize that well. Like I get emails all the time from people who need help with stuff, and that's fine. Just know that if you have an issue, that immediately needs to be a HeadLight support ticket. And obviously, support@headlight.com is on the back of every iPad. That's the main place you go for support. And then also on top of that, I did not open this tab, so let me go to it. I think I have a bookmark here, the issue reporting form. So this is another thing we wanted to bring up for resources on you, for you all. This is the place to go. This has really been the best thing that we've added late, that HeadLight has added lately. That allows you a place to go and put information in for a support ticket that gives them the information they need to really get that ticket solved faster. Like the email works great, but this you're able to add more detail, and there's not a lot of email back and forth. In fact, I've gotten to where I use this almost exclusively just because it gives me the opportunity to give them more information. So, Lauren, you're going to have to help me because I can't remember. I've covered YouTube, I covered the issue reporting, and covered the Academy. Is there anything else that we need to talk about with the resources?
Yeah. That was wonderful. That was wonderful. And just what Les said, the issue reporting form, the link to that is in my email signature. So at any time you have any issues, that is definitely your first stop. The issue reporting form, just as Les said, will absolutely minimize the back and forth of emails of, well, you said the system's not working. Can you give us your URL? Can you tell us exactly what you're experiencing? The issue reporting form allows you to kind of see what questions they're going to ask you beforehand so that you're not having to do that back and forth. I would also like to tell y'all that Les and I do our best at reviewing all of the support cases. So I'm sure y'all can't even imagine that Les and I talk on a daily basis. But we also try our best to set aside some time each week to look at all of the support cases that are currently in the queue, so to say, at HeadLight, so that if there is something in there that is a little more complex, or maybe there's a global issue that all of you are experiencing, we're doing our best to kind of escalate those as they come in. So not to say that the HeadLight support team doesn't also do that, but Les and I want to make sure that whatever you're experiencing in the team, that we're aware of it, and not necessarily that you're having to say, hey, Les and Lauren, this is happening, or can we get this escalated, or this is a major issue. We're trying to be more proactive instead of being more reactive when it comes to those types of things. I would also say that I know that Les emails out every month the monthly newsletter that has such good information in it. And of course, we do highlight usually a HeadLight hero of the month, so to say. So that's another good place to kind of see how other people are using the system, like what's a benefit to them. This is absolutely not meant to be a burden for you. This is meant to make your job more efficient and easier so that you're not having to do duplication of efforts or anything like that. So absolutely, as Les distributes out that newsletter prior to our monthly webinar that we host, take a second, read it, see what else is going on just, within e-construction and just see if there's any new information in there. A lot of times what happens too is Headlight makes what they call releases every Thursday. And so just as Les said, as you're looking at those resources in the YouTube channel, there may be outdated stuff in there. There may be functionality of the system that is reviewed at that time that has been updated. So the monthly newsletter from Les helps us to distribute information out to all of you in real time. As quick as we're getting the information, we're doing our best to share it with you so that we can all be on the same page. Anything else with the newsletter or the monthly webinars? All of these are good resources that all of you can participate in, you can read, and just what Les said, maybe we learn best in a video where we can play and pause and play and pause. Maybe you learn better in a PDF document where you can legitimately read down and click through the document. We're trying to give you however it is that you learn best or however it is that will make your job more efficient. That's what we're trying to do, is trying to give you the information in a method in which you can digest it.
The only
Anything
thing
else?
I would add one thing about the newsletter, because sometimes it's not super obvious. Like, when you have something like the iPad refresh here, I usually try to click the iPad, but on stuff like these at the bottom, these are all clickable links. And so I try to make it as easy as I can, at least from the newsletter, to get support. So let's just look at when you click on Econ support, it actually starts an email for you to the e-construction group. I don't want to say that. And then even like headlights issue, it goes right to the issue reporting form. So just know that those are clickable and usable at the bottom of that. Sorry, I clicked off of it. At the bottom of that newsletter as well. So, but that's all I had to say about the newsletter.
Okay. And I would say, kind of last but not least, in regards to resources, again, we are throwing a lot of information at you, a lot of different ways, but one more kind of monthly gathering that occurs is the construction roundup. And so, Les, can you tell them a little bit about what the purpose of the construction roundup is and what the typical audience is, and what are the topics that are usually covered in the monthly construction roundup?
Yeah, sure. So the construction roundup webinar, I would say, we have invites going out to all of the PEs, a lot of the engineer interns, construction industry, contractors, and of course our, executive staff and the headquarters construction staff. And we cover basically contract administration topics there. And so, our inspection groups probably don't get invites to that. In fact, I did add that on the calendar of the newsletter. Sometimes it is good information for you as an inspector, not just for the PEs and stuff, because, and I'm not accusing anybody on this meeting, but I know I have worked with people in the past that did not relay the information that come from a meeting like that. So if you feel like you want to join, you're more than welcome to get in on that meeting. The invite is in the newsletter. And so we, covering those contract administration type topics, such as, LPA projects or, some of the new reporting forms that Headlight made, that the PE needs to fill out, that kind of stuff, like the project, what is it called? Project progress form. And I guess the best part about that is it is information at a speed that we have not had before. So it's kind of as soon as our team hears about it and starts implementing things, that meeting covers like how to implement it and kind of why we've gone over that and being able to do that every month. In the past, I know lots of people on here have probably heard of the shade tree meetings. Like when I first came to work at DOTD, that's what the project engineers would have with each district and the headquarters in the district. And those happen like once a year. And so information was not flowing very quickly with those. And then as kind of Matt and Brian took over, and even Mike, we kind of implemented the construction roundup in persons where we were doing that twice a year. So that was a little bit better. But we're finding that getting that information out monthly has been really good in keeping our teams informed. And so I do encourage everybody to join. But like I said, it's more for management of projects and not necessarily the inspection part of it, but you guys are more than welcome to join if you're an inspector.
Great. All right. Any questions so far? And again, you can either unmute yourself or, you can put those in the chat, whatever you feel more comfortable with. All righty. So, next items on the agenda are capabilities. So, as most of you, I believe, are aware, you have access to the HeadLight applications via your phone, your iPad, or the web. And so, as we look at that, I did want to display on the screen for you kind of the different functionalities that you have. And so, just as you would think, maybe not, but just as you would think, I think, the phone has less capabilities than the web. So as you're out in the field, I heard from someone last week that was like, I'm afraid to take this iPad out in the field. I'm afraid I'll sit it down. I'll just use my phone because I always have that with me. Just know that just what you see there, the phone is kind of just a quick and easy way to take a picture, take a video. You can work online, you can work offline. It's that kind of quick access to whatever it is you're trying to do to move that job along within the HeadLight application. And so, again, I just kind of wanted to go through what the difference is between using my iPhone in the field versus using the iPad in the field, and then, of course, the web application. And so a lot of times also what I have noticed is that our field users will use their iPhone and their iPad, but very rarely do they use the web version. A lot of our office users are more familiar with the web version. And of course, it has the most capabilities. As you can see there on the far right, the web version, you're able to view everything. Anything that someone captured on Fast Capture via the iPhone, which is an app. Fast Capture is an app on the iPhone. So anything that you've captured and uploaded into the system, you can see anything from the iPhone. It kind of goes in that order, iPhone to iPad, and then to the web version. So as we also look a little more into that, the fast capture through the phone, you're able to take those single hand observations. So just as it says there, you're able to record those field inspections, those different scenarios that you have out in the field that require you to just kind of quickly think on your feet. Maybe your iPad's in the truck. You just wanted to go out there. It also allows you that visibility into any safety hazards, which you of course have on the iPad as well. But if you're in a quick hurry, you're just trying to quickly do something, fast capture is your best bet. And just as I stated, you can share those project field observations very quickly, and you can do all of that offline as well. It has offline and online capabilities. As we talk about those offline capabilities, Les and I are very aware that there are connectivity issues in certain districts. So I think historically we've used Verizon as a service provider. I think in the last couple of years, we've also been given an option to utilize AT&T. As we distributed out the iPad exchange form request, I think that was also a field on that. So just know that we are inherently aware of connectivity issues while you are in the field. And so, if there is one of those single service providers that works better for you, we want to make sure that if possible, we are giving you the best opportunity to utilize whatever service provider in your area works better, whether that be Verizon or AT&T. So if that is the case, if that is an issue you have, certainly let us know. And then, like I said, I'll be distributing this out after the meeting, but I did want to side by side view, kind of give you the capabilities. So you can see here the least amount of capabilities as you're accessing the system and trying to do things like look at observations, build reports, look at complete forms, the searching and the filtering of different projects that you're potentially working on. And then, of course, those labels and tagging feature, just making sure that you, as well as us, are all on the same page when it comes to your capabilities of how you can utilize the different applications with the tools and resources that you have. So any questions around the different tools and resources that you have access to and what that looks like? And I know we have a couple of questions in the chat, and we will get to those. Lisa, thank you for sharing that you like fast capture. I have heard from quite a few folks that's a good little tool there for a quick need. All right, good deal. So Les, you want to share a little bit about the functionality? We talked about using your iPad, your iPhone, and then of course the web version, but in regards to the actual applications that are available today, Les, you want to kind of cover which ones apply to which applications?
Sure, I can try. So I'm sorry, I put my iPad. I actually joined the meeting with my iPad because I want to show something later, and now I'm getting some feedback in here. So pardon me for just a second. But anyway, it's good to hear that some of you are using fast capture. Obviously, LADOTDs does not supply iPhones to everyone, so it might not be available to you if you are an Android user, but it's kind of one of those use it. If you have an iPhone, you're welcome to it. And so I'm glad I've actually heard a lot of inspectors using that as well, and glad to hear that. But the functionality with each one of these, like where you can use it, field book, phone, iPad, and desktop. Materials, just iPad and desktop. There's no fast capture type app for materials. Sample plan is just a desktop only deal. It is mostly for office users, and so there was really not a need for HeadLight to create an app to do that. And then coming soon, we have the home app, which is user admin, which will be mostly for our group. I don't even know that PEs will have access to that. Our estimates team would probably be using some of that. And then the contract administration software that they have, which will be just web-based as well, not an app. Um, which we're really looking forward to getting to that point. We are kind of under pilot right now. We had a kickoff meeting, and so getting ready to do some of that pilot work. But the one thing I do want to call out here is even though, like, say, Fieldbook is only, it's phone, iPad, and desktop. When we say web version, just know that even on an iPad, you can open up a web browser and get to the web version. So you don't actually have to be sitting in front of a PC, right, at the office. You can actually get to the web version as well. So there's the app, which has enough functionality to create a daily work report, but doesn't have all of the little detail stuff that the web does. Sometimes it's good to go onto a web browser, particularly the Chrome web browser on the iPad, and do some of that work. And so where I find that very useful is for like the application like Sample Plan. So even though it's a desktop, like web only version, you can still get to it on an iPad using the web browser. And so it's still available to you in the field if you only have an iPad with you. Or to be completely honest with you, I have an iPhone and I use my iPhone for those apps all the time through the web, not actually downloading that app on my phone. So that's
Project
available.
Health.
Hey, Jesse, could you mute for us? Thanks. But anyway, that's all I have about the functionality and kind of which tool you're able to use what device for, I guess is the best way to say that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Um, Anybody else, any feedback around your use of fast capture or your use of the iPad or your use of the web version? Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns about kind of the functionality of any of that? All right. And so, of course, this is an opportunity for you to do just that. So I know Les and I have really just covered some basic foundation here, and that we talked about kind of how to access the system, where to go, what resources you have, what you can do if you're in the system and you need support, the issue reporting form. We kind of mentioned just kind of an overview of the whole thing. And so while that kind of took up our first 30 minutes of this combo, we are now to the questions and answers. So I encourage you to either unmute yourself and tell us what you want to see or tell us what your challenge is, or feel free to type it into the chat. Les and I are both monitoring the chat. So I know we did have one question already in the chat. So Les, if you want to address that one.
Sure, I'm gonna, if you can let me share, I'm gonna share my iPad,
Sure.
or I'm gonna attempt to not have this planned. So
Look at you.
all right, there we go.
It did work.
So Daniel asked about how to get the Zoom app on the iPad, and this is really a good time to cover this because we have not talked about this in quite a while. On your Headlight supplied iPad, you should be able to see I think it's the third row down there, the first app on the left called Self-Service. This is where you can go with your Headlight iPad and download the apps that are available to you. So I'll just click in there. And right here you can see where it says browse and then browse all. So when you select all, this is all of the apps available to you. This particular iPad might show a few different things than what's available to you because I think this one might be on a different profile. But you're like LADOTD has a payload of apps that we have allowed. And so these are things that headquarters has approved to be put on the iPad. And you can see, obviously, they're in alphabetical order. So all the way at the end, you have Zoom Cloud Meetings, and you can install that. Of course, I touched it, and so I'm probably going to get kicked off since I'm already on Zoom. But um, so along with that, if there are apps that you do not see in this list, but you think that they might be useful for inspection, there is a process for trying to get that. And so I think this is a good time to cover that as well. I believe there used to be a form, a Cognito form that you could fill out to request an app. I've not seen that in a while, so I can't comment on that, but just the support at headlight.com or the issue reporting form is fine to submit that app. What I typically do when I ask for an app is grab a screenshot if you can off of the web, or if you can get to the Apple App Store, grab a screenshot of which one you need. First of all, it has to be a free app. So if you send the app that costs $40, it's going to get denied. But if it's a free app, we review it here in the e-construction section and we'll give the thumbs up or thumbs down to the Headlight team. If it gets a thumbs up, they will add that for you. So anyway, there's a process for getting apps. And a lot of these apps on here are apps I requested when I was an inspector, and even some of the other inspectors have requested some very useful stuff in here. I do want to share, actually, it's a good time for me to share this too. Let me see if I can get it to the top. So the top left right there is the app called Global Protect. Headlight just added this to our profile. That is our new VPN. So I have figured out that we have settings. It is usable on the iPad. I've kind of gone through and figured out what we need to do. I've contacted our friends over at OTS in the EIC section, and they are telling me that each user has to be added to a profile list to get the VPN access. And so I am compiling a list currently to send to them. They'll start adding that. And then soon, hopefully soon, we can send that out to you with the settings you need so that you can actually, and this is, let me state this also, because this is not for our CNI people. This is LADOTD only people, I believe. Now that I'm saying that, C and I might have access to this. If you get added to the system, I'll ask that contact there. But for LADOT people, hopefully you'll be able to get back on our intranet page using this global VPN soon. So I think I covered that in detail. So hopefully there are more questions. But for now, that's all I have on that, Lauren.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah. And I know the VPN situation, it was a challenge for us at Headlight, so I know it was a challenge for you all. All right. Any other questions regarding the iPad, how to access anything, any of that information? If you are on this call and do not currently have a login to Headlight, or need access to Headlight, I think most of you go through the projects, and as you are beginning a new project, you request users added. But if there's anyone on the call that needs access to a project or has questions about how to add users, again, support@headlight.com is your best way. You are more than welcome to email Les or myself, but sometimes Les and I are in meetings or we're out in the field with some of you. And so if we are, then that just kind of delays us a little bit to get back to you. So we want to make sure we are efficient and timely in a response to you. All right. So, last but not least, we're going to look ahead at what we have to cover for July. And so, as Les and I are preparing for the remainder of the year, because that's just who I am. Time moves so fast that I feel like I don't know how in the world we got to June. And so now, as we look to July and the remainder of the year, starting in July, we will actually dive into the system. So, a few of the topics that we are looking to cover in our July virtual training session will be just those topics that you see on the screen there, the basic functionality of the user menu, side navigation, all of the different capabilities around observations and journal basics. So whether that's, field observations, journal observations, weather observations, anything that has to do with that or any little tips and tricks, we're going to cover all of that. We're going to talk about bulk tagging and then just your basic searching of field book. And if we have time, we may get to some intro of spreadsheets. But like we said, this is kind of a steady pace of fundamentals of how to access the system, where to go if you need support, and then those tips and tricks as we begin to utilize it. So anything else that you want to cover today, Les?
That's all I had on my list.
All right, good deal. Well, like I said, if any of you have any questions once we end the call today, you are more than welcome to email Les or myself, give us a call. And then we certainly thank you for your participation today, and especially for those of you that gave us a couple of questions to go by. Again, if you need any answers to any questions or would like us to cover a topic in the future, let us know. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.